Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m., January 6th. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday, the SPY broke Friday's highs and kind of basically balanced up there after hitting last week's highs. So, market's kind of like in this no man's land in a way. The market really hasn't gone anywhere. All right. And currently, we're just accumulating over the last, uh, from yesterday's session to the overnights to now. All right. So, and we can do that. We can balance for a while. All right. Now we know we have CES going on, I believe, in Vegas with Nvidia and AMD making some news. I think Jensen Huang talked about autonomous vehicles and robots and stuff like that. So, but the internals told the tale again yesterday. Early divergence, and then tech was weak yesterday. So the market can't go up that high with tech being weak, but you had real strength in financials, consumer discretionary, communications. So that makes the market kind of at a standstill. Okay, so it was interesting yesterday because we'll go over that in internals in a sec. I don't have to go over it in depth, but so it was going to be a range bound day basically, right? Once we broke last week's highs, I was actually stalking a short right after that, and then I literally was waiting for one push into bearish for a value gap for me to short. It just didn't get. I didn't basically get to my entry point, and then the market kind of pushed down. I did wind up having a positive day with a short later on, but very small positive day, but I'll take it. Um, Shortly after that, there was a long that presented itself that I probably should have took. That would have made my day, but it's all good. It's all good. Can't complain. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and buying profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Also used by Anchor VOS, market internals, and as some of you are not aware, I'm using some ICT smart money concepts for my basically my framework to get into a trade. Not like how I want to go long or short necessarily, because that's still the same, use internals, but that's something new that I've been using pretty much in depth since the beginning of December, or maybe even before that a little bit, but pretty much in depth. So really like that framework, and that's what I've been using. All right. So hopefully, join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. All right. Give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I follow that up with the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures. Okay. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, I went live yesterday. Had a couple of my community members in there with me, and that's where you're going to get in-depth coverage of the market. Okay. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. When I'm live, I'm basically saying what the market should do with pretty high accuracy. Okay. I pretty much was telling my community this short was like really put up on a silver platter. I just was waiting for the pullback and I never got filled. And that would have been a nice one. Then later on, I had a long that should have worked out, but I had a short that was nice. And so come join. All right, come join. Now let's get right into the futures watch list here. Let's see what's moving markets. Silver is seems like that pullback is getting bought up here. We're at $78. I just can't believe what I'm seeing. $78 in silver. Wow. And I've been listening to a lot about silver. I knew back in the day when silver always hung around 26, then would go to 19, 20. It was said that they kind of kept a lid on it on purpose because it goes into a lot of things that we make. And it's actually not a good thing when silver is that expensive. So I don't know. I know a lot of people are saying get ready for a violent pullback in silver. So I mean, I still have my position. I trim some, but if it goes up again past 80, I'll probably trim some more because I don't trust silver. But you have two sides of the boat there. You have supply shortages, so some people are saying it could go to 100. There's a bunch of stuff there. I don't know. All I know is I took some profits already. I'm going to take some profits again if it makes another run. All right. VIX is up 0.67%. Gold's up 0.57. Crude up 0.456. Up 0.46. Nasdaq's up 0.23. Dollars up 0.18. 10-year yield is pretty much flat. ES is pretty much flat, up 0.06. 30-year bonds flat. Dow's pretty much flat. Russell's down 0.17. And Ethereum down 0.15. And Bitcoin was hanging around the 87s last week. Now it's up to 94. Barely down. That's barely down for NASDAQ, down 0.40. All right, Mag 7 Plus here. Remember, NVIDIA, Jensen Huang with CS in the news. Same with NVIDIA there, up 0.81, up 0.74. NVIDIA had quite the open and smashed all the way up to went up to 193.63 yesterday, but then dropped violently down to like 185. Okay, 185 and change. So that was a pretty dramatic open for NVIDIA yesterday. Netflix is getting beat down with that Warner Brothers. Let's see who's lagging here. Tesla's down 0.39. JP Morgan had a nice day yesterday, down 0.45. Okay. Now moving on to our top sector stocks. United Healthcare is getting some love this morning, up 1.17%, followed by Chevron getting more love. Palantir getting love, up 0.79. Miners up. Nothing really to say lagging here. Let's go to the granular list. Oklo nuclear. I think that thing was up to 170. Vistra. It's another like energy kind of like utility stock. CoreWeave up 2.60. Taiwan Semis. Marvel, another semiconductor, Supermicro computers. All right. Shake Shack got an upgrade. Vive, that's the technology in healthcare. Micron's up. All right. Let's see who's lagging today. AIG, I believe that's insurance. AIG is down 4.60. TransUnion, I believe that's TransUnion. I don't think it's Travelers. Down 2.53. Iris Energy down 1.53. Vertiv down 1.49. And Lennar, but Lennar got a downgrade, down 1.04. All right, so that's your granular list here. Move on to sectors here. Now this morning, semis with being risk on usually up almost 1%. Energy's up 0.32. Technology's up 0.32. Utilities is flat. The laggards today is discretionary and your financials. Okay, financials had a huge day yesterday. Huge day. All right. We're going to move on to the economic calendar now. What do we have on top today? There's not much today. Okay. There's really not much. Okay. We have Fed barking at 8 a.m. And then we have API crude at 4:30. That's all we got. Let's see if there's any one stars here just to make sure that is there anything else. Not really. Well, I guess you can say, you know what? I'm going to set my alarm. I mean, you have the 9:45, you have S&P Global Composite PMI and Services PMI. So I'm going to put an alarm just in case. I want to know that they're coming out. I mean, these don't seem like very impactful, but I am going to put an alarm right now as we speak, just so I'm aware. Okay. So that's that. Let's see if there's any Trump stuff today on the juice. Let's see. Fed barking. Fed Mirren speaks at 8:30. 9:45 is the U.S. S&P PMI. Oh, okay. Trump speaks at 10 a.m. at a GOP event. Then 1 o'clock, NVIDIA CEO Wang speaks. 2:30, Trump participates in policy. So this. I don't know how Trump actually hasn't really moved the market lately, like when he talks. But at 10 a.m., I'm definitely going to be listening or having that squawk box on to hear what's he could possibly say to move markets. Okay. Let's go to some stock news here. Nvidia led the so-called Magnificent Seven after Chief Executive Jensen Huang said the company's highly anticipated Rubin data center processes are now in production and that customers will be soon able to test the technology. Nvidia shares were up 0.7 with Advanced Micro Devices gaining 0.5. I don't know who this is. AEVA surged 32% after the company said its 4D LiDAR technology has been selected for NVIDIA Drive Hyperion autonomous vehicle reference platform, marking a significant validation for its sensing technology and advanced driver assistance systems. Wow. That ticker, huh? Interesting. Microchip Technology rose 4.2 after the analog chip maker forecast third quarter net sales above average analyst estimates. Let's see here. It says Zeta Global climbed 11% after the software company announced a strategic collaboration with OpenAI. Okay. Under Armour gained 3.3 after Fairfax Financial disclosed a 22.2 stake in the company's Class A shares in a regulatory filing. Adidas, or Adidas, how you want to say it, shares fell 6.6% in Europe after Bank of America Securities double downgraded the stock. Double downgraded. Jeez. All right, more news. Let's see here. We just talked about this, NVIDIA's new chips. Trump administration sets meetings with oil companies over Venezuela. AMD shows off newer, higher performing AI chip at CES event. Intel launches next gen PC chip at CES. Morgan Stanley files for Bitcoin. Solana ETFs and digital assets push. Wall Street giant Morgan Stanley is seeking regulatory approval to launch an exchange-traded funds tied to price of cryptocurrency tokens. Obviously, that's going to be very good for crypto. Okay, Bitcoin. Let's get this a little summary here. U.S. stock index futures were muted as investors took a breather after Wall Street posted its biggest intraday gains in weeks in the previous session. While markets braced for a data-heavy week of jobs reports, in Europe stocks edged higher, with indexes in Germany and Spain hitting record highs as investors remain confident in the economic outlook despite escalating geopolitical tensions. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei marked a record closing high as the outlook for domestic company profits improved, and Chinese stocks ended at their highest levels in more than a decade. So Asia is looking pretty good. Supported by I'm not sure how to say that, ferrous metals and financials as sentiment stayed upbeat ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday. Meanwhile, the dollar steadied against major peers as the market jitters from U.S. military action in Venezuela has eased. Separately, gold prices inched up, supported by safe haven demand and growing expectations over U.S. rate cuts, and oil prices edged higher. Advanced Micro Devices CEO Lisa Su showed off a number of the company's AI chips at the CES trade show in Vegas, including its advanced I think that's MI or M1 455 AI processors, which are components in the data center server racks that company is selling to firms like ChatGPT maker OpenAI. Su also unveiled the MI440X, a version of the MI400 series chip designed for on-premise use at businesses. This so-called enterprise version is designed to fit infrastructure that is not specifically designed for AI clusters. All right, let's see what else is in here. All right, we talked about some of this stuff already. Tesla, the company's UK car registrations dropped more than 29% year on year in December. Industry data showed on Tuesday, underscoring the intense competition from Chinese rivals. Maybe that's why Tesla's down a little bit. Vistra Corp, the utility company, said it has agreed to buy Cogentrix Energy, comprising 10 natural gas-fired power plants. All right, that's why the EST, I guess, was up. But usually when you buy something, you go down, but whatever. Let's see here. All right, I think we're done. Let's move on. We can go right to the internals, and I'll show you that divergence. And these internals are just priceless. They really are. Because it always calms me when I look at the internals. It always just makes me go, all right, I know what the market's capable of. Okay. So, what did we have yesterday? Now look, big divergence off the open. equal weight was weaker than market cap. Then the equal weight caught up with market cap, and market cap started to get weak while the equal weight got stronger. So really mixed market. Now, Infotech is 35% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500. It was down almost a percent, 35%. Okay, so if you think about 35% of the market cap weight, then financials, let's call it 14. Discretionary is, let's call it 11. That's 25%. And then let's call it at 10%. So basically 35%, the next three largest market cap weighted sectors versus 35%. So that's where you're going to get a mixed market. Okay. Healthcare was up as well. Industrials was up almost a percent. Okay. So with these, this is going to make, this is 9% healthcare. Industrials is 8%. So, but when tech's that weak, the market's not going to be able to go up too high. Okay. I know you made that initial move up. You made the initial move up. That was the help by NVIDIA's open. Okay. And then it fell apart. Okay. So you also had Valdi 2-1, 2-1. But on my Discord, I'm gonna show you real quick where this was earlier. It was almost at 6-1 in the Nasdaq, and that really fell apart. So that was a telltale sign. You always want to. Here, right here. So I posted right here. Notice that was at 4-1. This started at 6-1 because I posted this at 9:45 to let the market settle in again. This was close right here. This number. This was close to 6-1, which is very bullish. But then when I know that it was 6-1 and it dramatically changed, you can see where it closed 2-1. That is tells me that all right, you made a peak, and then I was like, all right, this market's probably going to just be rangy, and there it was. Okay, now move on to daily charts here. It's all about those dailies. Like I said, it's just a mess, really. It is a mess. So yesterday, I expected to take out these highs. So talked about that yesterday. That was the expectation that happened. We hit last week's highs, and then we pulled back. So this was a pretty telling. I was talking about this in my community when I was live. I was saying, hey, just be mindful. Most likely, if I was long, I would be taking profits here, and that's pretty much what happened. There was a little, I mean, maybe like a little gap if you want to talk about that, but that's really what happened. Now, where are we at now? 687. We're right at 687.70, 687.70. Yeah, we're pretty much at yesterday's close. So it's like nothing's changed. Okay, let's look at futures. Futures always give you like a really nice view because you get the 24-hour sessions really. Okay, so yesterday, look, we went all the way up to here. Now we have a doji candle. That's all. If you don't know what a doji candle, that just means indecision. So that just means you opened here, right? And the price is here, but you also went up to here, went down to here, and that is literally indecision. And that's okay. And that's what this market's been doing. I mean, look from about here. Look, we went up, we went down, we went up, and we're back into the middle. We're back into the middle of price action. 10. All right. So let's look at the Qs. Qs is just in a mess. You got this big wedge, right? You're pretty much in the middle of it, and we're compressing price. So eventually, price is compressing. You're going to get an explosion one way or the other. Like I mentioned yesterday, telltale sign, a flat 50-day moving average. That really means you're not doing anything. I mean, it's flattening out, right? 20-day, that's kind of like flat. 9 EMA is flat. That just tells you all you need to know. Even the 100 days is slightly pushed up, but like we're just coiling. That's what we're doing. Okay, so right now we're like at 619. So 619, we're right here, right? We closed here, so we're a little more up in Nasdaq, but it's just a messy chart. It's not a great chart. You're in the middle of the middle. You're in the middle of the middle of this big wedge. Horrible location. All right, let's look at the futures here. Okay. Again, 50-day moving average. You're just in a web of moving averages. All right. You're in the middle of last week. So really, I could see us just like accumulating today, bouncing, basing, whatever you want to call it, consolidating, all the terms we like to use. Okay. So not high conviction. This could be like, a range bound day unless some news comes out or something. Okay. And then real quick, let's just go over the XLK sector, right? Because that's 35% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500, and this is a mess. Look at this. Look at this. This is just a mess, right? So that's not, And then if you go to financials, who had a nice day yesterday. Look at that day yesterday in financials. Woo, woo, woo. Now, I believe that's all-time highs. Yes. So interesting, right? Very interesting. Now let's look at our breadth. Let's see how stanky that breadth, or how not stanky that breadth is in our markets. Okay, it's always a good little thing. Yesterday, the breadth improved. Okay, we're at 61% of the stocks in the S&P 500 are above their 50-day moving average. So breadth has improved again. Okay. Do I know what that means? No, but I know it's over 50. So if this continues, see we came down here, we go higher, then you get frothy up into the 80%. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just a good indicator to go, all right, that's why the market's kind of middling still, right? Middling market. All right. And this market is definitely accumulating. Okay. Now we're going to move on. Let's go right to those hourly charts here. Let's go to the hourly charts. Give me a sec here. Where the hell is this? Oh, hold on a second. Just resetting my marker here. All right. All right, ready? All right. Okay. So, remember I said yesterday, I put these liquid levels now, these rays here, just to let me know where the most liquid areas are and where I kind of want to do business. Okay. So what did we do yesterday? Yesterday, we opened up like right around here and just drove up, breaking the previous day's highs. And we went up to the most traded price of the month, which happens to be 69.52. All right, and that kind of held the market in check. It did push up into this bearish fair value gap up here. That's what caused that selling. Okay, I'm telling you, these fair value gaps do get reactions. It's pretty uncanny now that I can't not have them on my chart. Okay, so we did come up and we did, take out this high, took out this swing high, and took out this swing high. So you cleared all that out, and what did you do? You broke trend. This is called a market structure shift right here. That broke the downtrend. You broke the downtrend. Okay, so that's pretty much a bullish sign, right? Now what are we doing? We're kind of accumulating, right? So once you accumulate, the next, if you think of this ICT term, and it's not like I don't know this, right? But it's pretty cool. Power 3, they call it accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and that's always what we do. Okay? That's what the market does, right? Now, I always said the market bases and trends, but that's essentially what it does. But in the Power 3, you get that manipulation, right? The manipulation. So we just have to see, is this the manipulation? I don't know. It could be. Or we could just do this, 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 and then you get one move into this bullish fair value gap. That leaves a wick. That could be the manipulation, and the distribution leg could happen. Right? I'm only saying that because we did break the downtrend, but the Nasdaq has not. So that makes a market a little difficult to read, right? Or put a trade on because it's like, oh, Nasdaq's weak, but this is not, right? So basically here, we're at the most traded price of the month. It's no surprise to me that we're hanging around there. So now we do have equal lows here that I'm going to mark now. I'm going to mark that on my chart. This is another little liquid. Market loves equal lows. So right around here, I'm going to put it, okay? That's actually a little demand zone as well. An hourly demand zone right there. I might put that on my chart too. All right. So, but we're also in a bearish for value gap too right here. So like I said, this just means to me, what I'm seeing here is accumulation. So I want to be active around here and around here. Now, don't get me wrong, if I see a scalp or something in the middle of the day, I don't have to actually be there. But you want to be active where there's liquid, right? This is called external liquidity, right? Or buy side liquidity above price, right? Below is sell side liquidity. But each one of these rays is where the most liquid is, right? And that's how the market works. All right. So this is your ES. Let's move over to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's a different story. That did not break any downtrend. Now, it did break a downtrend here, and then it fell apart, right? So now you have lower high, lower high, lower high. Like if we just do the path, we just do a little trend, little exercise here. If you go from this to this, right? And then you really don't have something till here. Then you got another swing low here, and then we have a swing high to a swing low to this current price. And that is what we're doing right now. Okay? So right here you have like a swing high, right? Swing low, came all the way up, made a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, another lower low, right? So this is back into a little bit of a downtrend until we can take one of these out and shift structure. Okay? I don't know when that happens, but that's what we're doing in the NASDAQ. Okay? Now, I'm going to put that equal high just right here as well. Okay? And let me line this up too. All right. So, what happened yesterday in the NASDAQ, which I mentioned on my Discord, is the 257s is ultimate balance. This means the most traded price of the month and the most traded price of the week are equal. What does that mean? That's very hard for the market to cut through it. Okay? And that's why one of my shorts yesterday was live. I said to them, okay, we just broke into here. If we get resistance in here, and that's just when SPY was hitting last week's highs, I said this could be an area where we pull back. And we did. I just didn't get my entry hit. So, and then we've, obviously pulled back, right? So then you can see this was swept by this low when we came back. So I'm saying this could be the manipulation leg. To us, we'd really have to take out 257s to go higher. Okay. So we also hit the month-to-date anchor VWAP right here, which is fairly new. So we're also in supply still. We're also in a fair bears for value. This is not easy. We're just accumulating, right? That's what we're doing. And like I said, we're either going to fail here to bring us back, or sweep this liquidity and should try to go up to distribute higher. Or you fail here and that's the manipulation leg and we go lower. I don't know. Right? Gotta let the market tell you. Gotta let the market tell you. Okay, this is just accumulation. If you want to get, if you're a scalper, like real small little things, you can trade whatever you want. But like if you want higher quality setup, you don't really want to trade in the middle of this. It's not the it's not the highest probability of trading in here. Okay, you don't want to just be caught there. All right. So that's the hourly charts. Now we'll move on to the market profile, volume profile. All right, we're just going to start with the ES. All right, so this is our market profile, volume profile. Okay, let's get into it. And let's just mark off some levels here. Right, we know I just talked about this on the hourly chart. All right, so go over there. So let's look at this together. Pretty simple here, right? We have the overnight price right here. We have the overnight price is in the middle pretty much of the overnight and pretty much in the middle of yesterday. Just hence what I was just saying about the accumulation, right? So the activity really, what you want to be, like I said, is going to be around this area. Okay? Basically, the overnight lows and yesterday's highs, and you basically want to mark off yesterday's highs and the overnight highs. You have a poor high in the overnights. That's the equal high, basically, which the markets gets attracted to. That's like a magnet. Okay? So you're in no man's land right now. You have a little demand zone here. Okay? But this is it. Right? This is where you want to concentrate your interest in these areas. All right. Other inside here is going to be a lot of noise, going to be a lot of chop. Like I said, it's not a high probable trade to trade in this mess. Okay. So we're going to get into scenarios. Okay. Here is our scenarios. And we're going to start with bull case. Remember, we broke the trend in the ES. Okay. So right here, I know there's a bearish for Vega, there's supply, but all that really doesn't matter. Instead, I want to be active, pulling back into this bullish fair value gap, this yellow box, right? Maybe you even dip your toe into this demand zone. Okay. And I just want to see, could that be the sweep of liquidity? If that is, I want to be long, right? If that's the manipulation, And then you could move up through here, take out the 69.52s, the most traded price of the month, take out the poor high, which is equal highs in the overnights, make your way up to yesterday's highs, 69.63 and a halves, right? Then you have that bearish for value gap. Maybe you resolve that then and maybe work yourself up to the next supply zone. Okay, and anything lower here can be the buy up into these demand zones. All right, month to date anchor view up. I just think that's the easiest play. That really is the easiest play. Because if you're short, if somebody doesn't know the bias or whatever, and they're short into here, you're shorting into a bullish fair value gap and demand. That's probably not the highest quality short. And then you're going to be liquidity for me or you or us that we get long. Okay? That's what I'm looking at there. Now, shorts. Now, if we stay accumulating, right? Let's say we stay accumulating. And then if we make a balance area, well, if the price does go up here, right, takes out the overnight highs, then we go into this bearish fair value gap and take out yesterday's highs, but then we fail. And then we make a lower high. If we start to come back inside this range, then you have a short on your hands, and we can short back into here. Because that's balance rules. Okay? Nobody knows when that manipulation is going to show up. Right? We're accumulating. There will be a manipulation, then distribution, but we don't know. The market has this. I don't know. You just never know. Okay? And a lot of times when you're in balance, you get a manipulation and you go lower, and then you get a manipulation, you go higher, and then that just plays that game until one time you break out and it holds and you get continuation. Okay, so this is what I'm really looking for. It's pretty simple. All right, moving on to the NASDAQ. Okay. NASDAQ's kind of got a similar setup here. Okay. Now, we know ultimate balance. Got to mark that off. 257s. Market could not break that yesterday. And that makes sense. It's very hard to break those levels. Of course, you're also in supply zone as well. You're in a 6-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour supply zone. That's a very strong supply zone with a thicker bar here. So that tells me it's stronger. Okay. And what are we going to focus on? There's also a new supply zone here. Okay. Bearish for value gap up here still. Okay. You don't have a bullish for value gap down here, but you do have a nice strong demand zone here. So what would I focus on? I would focus on this area. Overnight lows, yesterday's lows, right here. Okay, and that's going to be your area of interest, just like the ES, right? Because we're inside yesterday's range. We're at the midpoint of the overnight. We're at the midpoint basically of yesterday. This is a horrible place to trade, right? This is where you say you're going to have an inside-out trade. Now, I'm not saying you should trade that because it's a coin flip. But we are going to do this or this. Guaranteed. Okay? But this is a very, very big gamble. Like, I don't know. If you're trading long or short here, good luck. Because I don't have an engine here. That's noise. All right? I'd rather come to an edge and go, okay, what is it going to do? What are we going to do here? Are we going to stay in balance? Or are we going to break lower? I don't know. Okay. Now I didn't do this in the previous, but I mean, maybe it's better visually. Probably is. That's the overnight session. We're going to get right into scenarios here, and we'll finish up right now. Remember, we're just accumulating. Okay. Whenever I say that, right, I have to say that to myself. Like, oh, we're accumulating. Oh, we're building a base. Because what does that do when I say it? It makes me go, relax. Wait for some type of manipulation. Do not trade in the middle of the noise. That's what I say to myself. Especially at a VPOC or something. I don't want to trade at a VPOC. I don't want to trade in the middle of the mean, at the mean. You want to be on the edge. Value area low or value area high. You don't want to be in the middle. Like I said, even if someone told me, hey, but I got long in the middle and I made money, I'd be like, great. Can you repeat that over and over again? Because if you trade from the middle, like I said, flip that coin. And when you do trade in the middle, this is why I'm saying it's not a nice move. It's usually like whippy. You get chopped up. You get a bunch of losses, and then eventually you don't even want to trade it again, and then it goes where maybe you thought it might go. It's just not a high probable trade, right? Unless somebody has some scalp system where they scalp ticks, then I'd be like, all right, well, then you have a system, right? I'm not here to downplay anybody's system. All right, so let's get into scenarios here. It's pretty much the similar. So it's the overnight lows, right? So remember, we're accumulating. Now in the NASDAQ, it's a little different, right? We're underneath ultimate balance, right? Structure-wise, this should have a bearish bias to it. Structure-wise, you should have a bearish bias to it. All right. Now, it could go either way. So what do I want to see? So I'd like to see, if I want to be a buyer, push down into here, this demand zone, make the bears feel that they're comfortable, then this would be a bear trap. Get some nice move down, make a higher low, and try to then, that's the manipulation leg, and then we'll distribute, right, higher. Now 257 is going to be a problem. Now what if we take out 257? Well, then your next move is back up to this liquid level of 25803. This high happens to be a bearish for value gap there as well, and then you can move up to the 25850s. That's if we break out and distribute. But like I said, this could very well stay in balance. I don't know. What I do know is if you do get the manipulation, you start to move back into the middle of the mean, you are probably headed for yesterday's highs, at least. Okay? That's the long I'm interested in. Now, shorts. Remember, we're accumulating, so it's anybody's game, and we're under 257. So what I want to see here, there is supply here. Okay? Now 257. I want to see how the market reacts to yesterday's highs in 257. What if we do this? We wick, come under it, make a lower high. Well, that's probably a short. And you're going to want to target the overnight lows, yesterday's lows. Right? Now, is that the manipulation leg? Possibly. Then you could distribute lower. I don't know. Door number 2 is you balance, you get bought up here. But that's still a nice trade. Okay? It's kind of what I'm looking at today. Active on the edges. That's all I want to be. Active on the edges. Okay? All right, everybody. That's it for me today. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That would mean a lot to me. Okay? And as always, please join me every morning. Give you the market story, the real deal, what's going on, why the market's doing what it's doing, economic calendar, market news, all that jazz, as my boy documents, or MPH, or Leo, the many aliases. Okay? He likes to say when I like to say all that jazz. All right? Now, hopefully, you come join me today. Okay? Come join me today on my Discord. That Discord is Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? I should be going live today. So if I go live, right, I don't post as much because I'm dropping the golden nuggets in my room live. Okay? So hopefully you join me. All right? If you don't, I will see you guys tomorrow morning. All right? So everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade is a trade. Hope everybody has a green day. And like I said, if I don't see you in my room, I'll see you tomorrow.